Greenbelt is one of Ontario's most valuable land areas. Stretching nearly 2 million acres of land, it is home to over one-third of the province's listed species at risk. This large area is made up of roughly 12% wetlands, providing irrigation and supporting aquatic-based ecosystems, 24% forest, 40% valuable farmland, and the rest consisting mainly of urban development. The Greenbelt is important for ecosystems, farmers, and the environment, as forests and wetlands store carbon from the atmosphere, clearing the air. It is clear that it plays a crucial role in Ontario's biodiversity and should be left untouched to preserve its function to Ontarians and the ecosystems within. Today, however, it is under attack by governments and developers who want the land to satisfy the growing demand for housing. It is projected that in the next 15 years, 13.5 million people will live in and around the Greenbelt area. What is most alarming about this statistic is what follows the growth of population: houses, cars, and roads. The threat facing the Greenbelt today is pollution, habitat fragmentation, and the draining of wetlands in the name of building more. The only thing protecting the Greenbelt are its conservation laws. However, other environmentally designated pieces of land are at larger risk of being forgotten. In lieu of the price of housing increasing in Canada, many provincial governments have passed legislation to allow new developments to be built easier and cheaper so as to relieve pressure on the market. Ontario's own PC party, run by Premier Ford, have, among many other shady decisions, passed legislation to remove environmental restrictions on developments, making it easier to ignore the impact of these developments on ecosystems. In 2025, the PCs passed the Protect Ontario by Unleashing Our Economy Act, which allows the government to create special economic zones that are allowed to bypass environmental protections in certain areas in the name of economic growth. Luckily, this bill does not jeopardize the sanctity of the Greenbelt, but it does make it easier for developers to build in other areas that would normally be protected as important habitats. This bill, however, is only one of many other bills that have been passed, making it easier for new developments to be built, and some have even controversially tried and failed to degrade the Greenbelt. The overall housing demand has pushed for some more urbanization of Ontario's beautiful countryside to accommodate a growing population, which has affected many existing habitats as communities seem to take priority. For example, in East Gwillimbury, Queensville has become many of the new developments built from old farmland.
Queensville is one of the fastest growing communities in the York region. It sprung from farmland in the early 2010s, and it was built with the environment in mind. But unfortunately, just due to its sheer size, a lot of animals have been affected by its displacement. Fortunately though, Queensville has been built with a lot of green spaces like this one seen here, which are really nice to allow humans and animals to live together. However though, it does not fully negate the effects of habitat loss and fragmentation in the area, and a lot of animals remain displaced by it.
The loss and fragmentation of habitats caused by new developments threaten 90% of species at risk in Ontario and serve as a huge risk for local ecosystems, which are torn apart by roads and houses. Among many other problems posed, light, noise, and air pollution seem to have large effects on animals, and it's clear that new developments are large sources of this pollution. Another one of the PC party's bigger controversies surrounding new development is the Bradford Bypass, connecting Highway 404 to Highway 400 across East Gwillimbury and Bradford. This highway, cited as a catalyst for economic development in the region, has been criticized and protested by many because of its impacts on local ecosystems and its use of Greenbelt's land. One of the many habitats it disrupts, the Holland Landing Marsh will be one of the most impacted areas. In an environmental assessment in 1997, it was discovered that a highway would be a great source of contamination of surface and groundwater, loss of significant wetlands and habitats, increased air pollution, and loss of farmland in the area. Despite its many upsides to transportation and development in the area, the Bradford Bypass disrupts an important part of the area's geography, the Holland River.
The Holland River is an important ecological feature in this area, supporting many ecosystems in East Gwillimbury, Bradford, and Newmarket. The Holland River is able to irrigate farmland and support wetland. Wetlands support 20% of Ontario's species at risk. Not only that, but they're also able to store tons of carbon, negating the effects of pollution in the area. And during heavy rainfall, they can also prevent excessive flooding. With that being said, if they put a highway through this river, it would inevitably pollute the river and all of its ecosystems that rely on it. like this one here in Rogers Reservoir.
Wetlands are extremely important features of Ontario's geography. In fact, Ontario contains 6% of the world's wetlands, but these wetlands are slowly disappearing as new developments take priority. An environmental assessment predicts around 50 hectares of land will be impacted by the Bradford bypass, among many other habitats, and it is unclear how much more harm the highway may do. Ontario remains extremely biodiverse, and its ecosystems are crucial to many of the province's wildlife. The fact is that Ontario has to balance out the needs of its population as well as its wildlife. While new developments are inevitable, governments and developers need to consider local ecosystems before tearing them apart. When habitats have to be converted into urban development, it should be done in a smart way that mitigates its effects. When infrastructure needs to be put in place through habitats, it should be constructed in a way that does not disturb them. Progress is inevitable, but the way we go about progressing is up to us. It is therefore very important that we are both ethical and intentional when we want to use land.